Hey everyone, I'm Jean Chatsky. Thanks so much for joining me today on Hermoney. So, if you blink, it's possible that you will just miss the latest trends taking over your social media feeds these days as we say goodbye to 2023 and head into 2024. I can't believe I'm even saying that. I thought it would be fun to do a quick recap of some of the trends we stood behind and some of the ones that made us cringe just a little bit this year. So here's to one that we loved seeing. Work-life balance taking center stage with more emphasis put on working the hours you're paid to work and doing the job you're paid to do, not too much more and not too much less. The hustle culture mentality that made so many of us feel like we needed to work 10 or 12-hour days seems to be fading a bit, at least for now. And with it comes a wave of employees being a little more thoughtful about the time and the energy they spend working so they don't end up burning out. It's so important, especially for women, since we know we've got more of the burden of things at home, childcare, caring for our older parents, and yes, sadly, housework. And then there is a trend that made me want to pull my hair out. Girl math, which we talked about on an earlier show with math whiz Danica McKellar. Business Insider recently wrote an article that called out girl math for holding women back from growing wealth. And I got to say, I think they have a point. When we dumb down these topics, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. As the Insider article said, stereotyping women as having poor math skills has a direct correlation with an unwillingness to engage with finances. A 2021 study in the Journal of Economic Behavior and Organization suggests that the stereotype that women are less financially literate increases their anxiety around money. So let's just put that stereotype to rest. Finally, in the fashion world, sustainable fashion and shopping at thrift stores, they just got huge. They went bananas this year. We are starting to see evidence that Gen Z shoppers are over fast fashion and way over sketchy labor practices. Instead, they want curated thrift store finds mixed with new high-quality pieces from brands with a mission. And if those high-quality pieces come from our favorite consignment stores, all the better. On that note, we are excited to welcome back to the show Jillian Quint. She is editor-in-chief and founding member of PureWow. It's been a while, a hot minute since she was on the show, but we couldn't think of anyone better to dish on all the hottest trends that we're expecting for 2024. Jillian, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be back here.
So let's just jump right in. I got to ask you, before we leave 2023 behind, was there a trend that really surprised you in 2023? I mean, what is something that the editors at PureWow have not been able to stop talking about?
Well, I've been in women's lifestyle for about 15 years now, so I'm not sure there's anything that can exactly surprise me. Everything comes back around. But there were a couple trends this year that did catch me a little bit off guard. Things I was both excited about and ones that made me sort of want to tear my hair out. So one trend that surprised me in a good way was in the home decor space, a return to maximalism. After years of minimalism, Marie Kondo, Scandinavian blonde wood, sort of a single white room with nothing but a fiddle leaf fig, we have finally seen a return to really luxe, colorful, multi-textured interiors. At PureWow, we called this trend hipstoric heritage, but really it's just a return to dark woods, to bronze patinas, to warm leather, to worn, lived-in oriental rugs. This does go well with your thrifting comment from earlier, and just honestly, I found it so refreshing. Now, on the flip side, one trend that I'm so done with is what you nodded to, which is this idea of the girl everything. So yes, this was the year of girl math, but it was also the year of girl dinner, which if you're not familiar is when apparently you cut up a bunch of nuts and berries and put it on a plate and call it dinner, or Tomato Girl Summer, which was when women were wearing gingham dresses and carrying market bags filled with escarole, which is lovely, but did it have to be called Tomato Girl Summer? It just felt very infantilizing. This fall, we're actually going into something that people have deemed gingerbread girl fall. So I'm done with all the girl things for the new year.
Amen to women, right?
Yes.
Let's raise up the woman in 2024. And yeah, I gotta acknowledge, I mean, girl dinner is not something that I could ever get behind, although I am guilty of every once in a while calling a packet of Pop-Tarts dinner or a bowl of cereal dinner, but I prefer to just think of that as breakfast for dinner. And to me, it's a luxury.
And either way, don't let it take away from your womanhood to eat a Pop-Tart.
Eat a Pop-Tart. Pop-Tarts are the unsung heroes of many a meal. All right, let's dig into the trends that are coming our way for 2024. And let's just acknowledge we're a money show, but we spend money on all of these trends. If you buy into these trends, these become pocketbook items. They become wallet items, and that's why we're giving them some airspace here. And let's start, Jillian, with fitness trends. I know ever since the pandemic, high intensity, not to mention boutique cardio classes, faded a little bit, and the thoughtful, slower, at-home movement came on really strong. But an F45 just opened around the corner from where I live. I seem to see a lot of these boutiques popping back up. Where do you see fitness falling in 2024?
Yeah, I definitely think you're right that there's this move away from the high pressure, high intensity workout. One of the biggest trends we're seeing started where else? On TikTok. It's called cozy cardio. And like you mentioned, it's the idea that working out doesn't have to be so high intensity. It doesn't have to be Orange Theory or CrossFit. It can be as simple as lighting some candles and doing your favorite yoga video in your living room, or walking on your walking pad and watching a movie, that kind of thing. So obviously this isn't as rigorous and doesn't have the same calorie burning or cardiovascular benefits of a more intense workout. But the general idea is that something is better than nothing, right? And this kind of casual approach is more inclusive to people who might have felt left out of exercise in the past, or might have felt they didn't have time to do it. And I do think this mindset is going to be really pervasive. There's been a handful of recent studies that have shown that even very modest exercise, think running a single mile a few times a week or walking even just 4,000 steps per day, have major health benefits in terms of improving longevity and reducing your risk of heart disease. And a lot of these benefits you really see on the front end, like doing a little bit of exercise versus nothing vastly improves your longevity. Going from running 2 miles a week to running 15 miles a week, you don't see that kind of jump. So it's really the doing something mindset. And I think this sort of speaks to a greater trend in the new year, which is giving yourself leeway. There's something in between constantly, and I'm putting quote marks here, crushing it and just being a total sloth.
I went out for a run this morning with a friend of mine here in Philadelphia, and I'm a plotter. I can run a 10-minute mile. I can go a really long time. I can't go super fast, but I can just sort of keep going. And he found that when he started to put multiple miles together, he got injured. And so he's on this kick where he's walking a minute and then running 2, and then walking a minute and running 2. I guess it's a thing. They call it interval running. But I did his little program with him this morning, and I gotta say, I kind of liked it, right? I mean, it was nice to take those little breaks and slow it down a little bit, and I didn't feel as if I was under exercised when I finished. I felt like I had a nice conversation. I got my miles in, and it was a new way to approach it. And I like that he was easier on himself and figured out a way to make running work for him when just going simply did not. We pulled a recent survey from My Protein that found that the average American spends $155 a month on fitness. Are you noticing people spending more on gyms or more on at-home setups? Where is the Peloton mindset these days?
I almost think there are two camps of people. Like, there's people who came out of the pandemic thinking fitness is so important to me, and having the flexibility to do it wherever, whenever, on my own time is really important. Like, after learning that we can do so much from home, I think for a lot of people, there's this inability to see going back to commuting 20 minutes to a gym in each direction. So we are seeing a lot of sales of at-home fitness equipment soaring. I was just talking to our fitness editor about this, and she said there's all these crazy new devices. Peloton just released a new rowing machine that has the same videos that you know from the bikes. There's a company called Frame that just released a new reformer machine for Pilates, which again is digitally connected, so you can work with instructors and feel like you're in a Pilates studio, but from home. So I think there's definitely people who are investing money in at-home setups. On the other hand, I think there are people, and I definitely fall into this camp, who have drastically cut back their spending on fitness. My fitness routine is strictly running and the $30 yoga mat that I own, and I alternate between floor workouts and running. And I think that, again, after the pandemic, a lot of people realized that they could bring the gym into their own home at a lower price point.
And on their own schedule.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the thing about running that has always worked for me. I can do it wherever I am. I don't have to wait for a class. I don't have to wait for another person, although I do like running with another person. But it always, as long as you have the drive to make it fit into your schedule, the same is true of walking or biking or any of these things, then you can make it happen. And making it happen, of course, I think is the most important thing. Let's talk about fashion. I mean, there are people, maybe older people like me, who've been a little horrified to see low-rise jeans come back into fashion and delighted to see uncomfortable skinny jeans make their way out. Is the 90s resurgence here to stay? And do you think people are really saving a decent amount by buying clothes at thrift stores?
Well, first of all, I'm right there with you with low-rise jeans. May they never, ever come back again, from our lips to God's ears. In terms of the 90s and in terms of people saving either on fewer things or on repurposed things, I do think that both of those are real trends. I don't know that we can officially celebrate the end of fast fashion or clothing hauls, but I do think that 2024 fashion will be all about fewer, better things. The 90s look that we're looking to is less of a grungy or flannel shirt kind of 90s and more of a subtler 90s vibe. Less Winona Ryder, more like season 1 Rachel Green from Friends. We're calling it 90s minimalism, and it's sort of interesting to see it on the heels of quiet luxury, which you'll remember was the fashion trend of this past year, very spurred by Succession and that kind of neutral, extremely expensive, high quality minimalist look. 90s minimalism has some similarities in that it's all about high-end capsule collections, but the look is a little more casual. Think jersey maxi skirts or turtleneck sweaters, medium wash straight leg jeans, that kind of thing. And we've seen this look take hold at the runway for a while now, but we're also just sort of seeing it pop back into the zeitgeist period. I'm not sure if you saw, there was a fabulous article recently in the Times by Vanessa Friedman about Carolyn Bessette Kennedy. She called Kennedy a ghost influencer, which I loved that term. And this kind of 90s understated style was at the core. There was a lot that was interesting about the article, but one thing I really glommed onto was the idea that Kennedy had only about 40 pieces in her closet. You think of her as so chic, but she was re-wearing the same things again and again, and she really used those things. There's this iconic photo of her in a subway station, which first of all is great. Like, I love the idea of Carolyn Kennedy taking the subway, but she's got her Birkin bag with her, and she's got her Birkin bag sitting on the floor of the subway station. Not that I'm telling anybody to go out and buy a Birkin, and if you have a Birkin, maybe don't put it on the subway floor, but the idea that we're going to be having fewer things, higher quality things, and we're going to use them. We're going to wear them again and again, and we're going to we're not going to be so precious with our clothing is something that I do expect to take hold in the new year. So yes, this absolutely goes in tune with vintage shopping and with a less is more approach.
I read that article too. I loved the pictures. I mean, for those of you who are a little younger and haven't seen the images of Carolyn Bessette Kennedy, and what a loss at such a young age, both her and her husband and her sister. She's timeless. There are pictures of her in a camel pencil skirt that it looks very much like a pencil skirt that I've owned for 10 years because it is one of those things that you wear again and again. The other thing, and I don't know if this is actually a trend, Jillian, if people are looking at me today, you see I'm wearing a denim blazer, which is one of the new items that I bought for this season. I'm wearing it like all the time. All the time, and other denim pieces too, denim dresses, denim beyond blue jeans. Are you seeing a lot of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, listen, denim is timeless. It's never going to go out of style, but I think it's absolutely very of the moment right now. Mixing denims is of the moment right now. And what you're doing, which is re-wearing the same piece again and again. We had years where I think because of social media, a lot of women felt ashamed to be seen in the same thing over and over, hence the rise in rentals or subscription services for fashion. And I really think and hope we're coming back to a place where when you get a fantastic denim blazer, you can wear it 3 times a week and feel confident about that.
I will feel confident about it, and now more confident about it since you told me that it's okay, because that's exactly what I'm doing. You mentioned clothing hauls. Are they really on the way out? Please say yes.
I want to say yes. I may have to think so. They were so overdone in the past year or so. So I'm saying yes.
Okay. All right. And for those people who don't know what they are,
I mean, it's the idea that people are going into stores and just bringing back a ton of clothing and trying it on for their audience.
we are at the tail end now of months spent hosting family, cooking for the holidays, and buying lots of gifts. Inflation has hit our pocketbooks really hard, which is why I love that I'm seeing a trend of little luxuries. I think that is a great way for people to treat themselves and treat the people that they love without blowing their budgets, taking a beauty advent calendar and just splitting it up and giving all the little pieces away. Is that the sort of thing that you're seeing as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the wake of the pandemic and just all this inflation, it makes sense that people want to treat themselves in small, not so giant splurgy ways, generally under $100 ways. And I think that maybe in the past, there's been some stigma around this. I actually think that the last time I went on your show, we talked about how you can cut out these little splurges and this adds up over time, which of course is still true. But we're in a different economy now. We're in a different world. Not to take a depressing turn, but I read a study recently that a third of Gen Z adults don't think they'll ever be able to afford a home. So for people who have some disposable income, but don't necessarily see a world where they can even save up for some of these, quote, big life things, I think it makes a lot of sense that indulging in small, very much in their budget luxury items feels special. The idea that you can get a really lovely candle and make your bathroom feel luxury even if you can't afford an apartment upgrade. The idea that you can get just delicious caviar to have on hand for when a friend comes over. Personally, I have decided I always need to have fancy olive oil that I'm proud to display on my countertop. So I think things like that have been trending and will continue to trend in the new year for sure.
For my stepdaughter, it's amazing coffee that she brews at home. She bought an expensive coffee maker, and that's her little luxury. And she has it every single day. And it's important to her. It helps her start her day off on the right note. And I support that. I think figuring out what those luxuries are for you makes complete and total sense. So we are, as I mentioned at the top of the show, and as our listeners know, we are a money show. What are you seeing in the workplace or regarding our personal finances as trends are going, Jillian?
Well, we are definitely not an investing publication, so I will leave it to you to make the actual money suggestions. But one trend we have been noticing picking up steam is the idea of sustainable investing. At the top of the show, you mentioned sustainability in general as a trend you're seeing, and I really couldn't agree more. In the investing space, we're seeing that companies that make a positive environmental and social impact are really important to investors. There was a recent Gallup poll that said that 63% of investors are looking to invest in companies that align with their beliefs. And per that study, the numbers were even higher when you looked at women exclusively. So we definitely are seeing companies like Coca-Cola that are outlining their sustainability efforts from the get-go. For Coca-Cola, it's a commitment to 100% recyclable materials, regenerative water use across their facilities, that type of thing. And as a result, investors are taking note and putting their money in these places accordingly. But even outside of stock portfolios, we're seeing sustainability as a huge priority for our audience in terms of where they're spending their money. Whether it's shopping for beauty products at Credo, which is the sustainable Sephora, thanks to its comprehensive recycling program and high standards for safe ingredients. Or maybe they're choosing hand soap from Blue Land, which offers refillable plastic-free cleaning products. Basically, our readers are looking to put their money where their mouth is, and we've had a lot of reader response to articles we've done about sustainable products and a lot of requests to do more of them.
Yeah, we're seeing it too. One of our programs is called Investing Fix. It's an investing club for women. Karen Feinerman, who is my partner in crime in this effort, she's a CNBC panelist on Fast Money and a professional investor. She and I are teaching investing to 300-ish women on Zoom every other Monday night. And we got a lot of requests to bring ESG or sustainable investing into the portfolio. And so we did a couple of weeks of education on sustainable investing and teed up some sustainable investments. And the members voted to add an ESG that is in the sustainable investing space to our portfolio. For anybody who's listening, if this sounds like something that you're interested in, Investing Fix is a program that you can join, and you can check it out on our website, hermoney.com, or you can go to investingfix.com for more information. And we spell fix, by the way, with 2 X's just to make it complicated. But we have an awful lot of fun. You mentioned sustainable beauty. We had a great conversation, Jillian, earlier this year with Elise Hugh about her new book and about the really high costs that women are paying to maintain their looks, to live up to ideal standards of beauty. And we talked about her hopes that we can all start to feel more comfortable in our skins. One thing that I've noticed, it seems like the beauty industry is becoming more accepting of flaws, that people are wearing pimple patches. They might be shaped like stars, but they're pimple patches in public with no shame. Is this sort of thing going to continue to grow in 2024?
Oh, I so want to tell you that the beauty industry is becoming more accepting of women's actual bodies. I think it's more complicated. We've made some great strides in terms of body positivity and inclusivity. But on the other hand, you, of course, see the rise of something like Ozempic, or the fact that beauty is just this massive multi-billion-dollar industry that's just not going away. But I do think that a lot of the, quote, issues that were historically taboo are now being addressed more openly and in a way that makes room for more voices, as you said. So the idea, for example, that traditional sunscreen doesn't blend into all skin tones, that, I mean, it seems sort of appalling that it's 2023 and we're just starting to have this conversation, but brands are actually developing formulas that do. Or the fact that not all people using beauty products even identify as women. These are things that the beauty industry is finally starting to take note of. I'm thinking specifically of one of the biggest trends we're seeing for the new year in the beauty space, which is this newfound focus on menopause and the beauty needs of women in their 40s, 50s, and beyond. It would be hard not to credit a lot of this to the celebrities behind it. I'm sure everybody here is thinking of Gwyneth Paltrow right now. She's been very vocal about her own menopause, hosted a menopause summit in California. We also have Naomi Watts, who has been a big proselytizer for the subject. She launched a line of products called Stripes, which is all products devoted to issues that come up at this time of life. So specific creams targeting dryness, vaginal gels, that kind of thing. But there's also just been a spate of companies in general in the beauty space and beyond targeting this demographic in a very overt way. They're not hiding it. There's a hair care line called Better Not Younger that addresses issues like brassiness and thinning hair that tend to happen in aging hair. Or there's this fabulous glasses company called Caddis that is, I'm sure you've seen them. They're really cool glasses that are reading glasses. The models actually look old enough to be wearing reading glasses, and
Yes.
they are very clearly for Gen X boomer demographic.
I'd love to see all of this. I had my own saga with hot flashes as I was going through menopause, and it just, at the time, there was not a ton of conversation about it, and it's so nice to see people being open and willing to discuss it, as we are so many other things these days. So this is one of the trends that I really applaud. Before I let you go, Jillian, what else are you looking forward to covering in 2024? What's coming up next that we should keep our eyes out for at PureWow?
Well, the fun thing is you never know what's going to pop up. Like with these things, especially with the quickness of the internet and social media, a trend can start on a Saturday and by Tuesday it's huge. So I'm excited for everything that's going to blow up, seeing these trends, deciding if they're worth adhering to or if we're just going to like let them pass us by. One trend that our travel editor just shared with me that I think is so cool that I keep talking about is this trend of Astro tourism, which she swears is going to be huge this year. So Astro tourism is traveling for the sole purpose of seeing unobstructed, unpolluted skies. So we're seeing all these hotels now that are offering stargazing packages or experiences, and both domestic and international, places like Colorado or New Zealand, where they're on lands that are officially recognized international dark sky reserves, which I didn't know was a thing, but is apparently a designation you can apply for. And we're also seeing tourism boards campaign for new legislation that prohibits certain light pollution, that kind of thing, in order to bring in more tourists for this express purpose. So I just love this as this cool intersection of environmentalism and just this return to the experiential that we've seen post-COVID.
This is fantastic. When you said the word, I really thought I was going to have to get in a rocket. I'm so glad that I don't. But I'm absolutely going to check this out. I have a friend, we've been talking about trying to get to Alaska later in the summer, and I bet there is some amazing astrotourism there. So I'll look forward to that. Jillian, thank you so much for all of this, for being with us, for talking about what we can expect in 2024. Happy early new year to you.
Thank you so much. It's been so fun. Happy to come to chat trends anytime.